Hey there, Smite fans, and welcome into SPL Waiting Room. I've missed you all so dearly and so glad to be back for a great week of the SPL. And I think we've got a very fitting monologue topic for us here today because I want to talk about my dear friend Mo. I'm talking of momentum, of course, and how important it is to keep momentum going even when you aren't able to participate, particularly in the case of a couple teams in the SPL, but also for me now in the SPL. Remember, Radiance was red hot in this phase, and then they had to take an extended break, missed a couple of sets that they had to then make up, and lost all of that momentum, came back very, very flat from their break. PK, who have been red hot, also ended up missing me too much in order to play their games last week, so they're going to have to make up some games in the future. Can they keep that momentum going is going to be the real key. Now, a shorter break for PK, not as big of a deal for them, but this team was really starting to hit their stride right now, and then they end up having to miss a week of games. Will they be able to bounce back a little bit better than Radiance was able to do? That's going to be key. And also, how bad is my casting going to be this week after 1 week of break? Who knows? It's going to be fun to find out, at least for me, maybe not for my chair one. But luckily, for mostly me, we've got a little recap in case you missed last week. Week 11's recap, as written by Dave and Finch, and as told by Finch and Dave. I will be watching very closely.
All right, well, welcome in for another episode of the SPL Weekly Recap. Gonna be a short one this time because Week 11 only had 4 sets. It's obviously Finch and Dave. We write these scripts for each other and then read them for the very first time here as part of this show. So I will start things off. A 4-set Week 11 starts off with the Red Hot Ghost taking on a stumbling E United. A little brutal this week, Dave. Had won 3 straight with their new look roster, but entered this matchup on a 2-set loss streak, losing to both Radiant and SSG. That said, the man mountain of a soul laner that is Fine OK showed up in this set and serves a fresh 2-0 to E United.
Thanks, Finch. It was a week of 2 extremes for the Renegades. They played Opay to close out Friday, and it was a critical bottom-of-the-league matchup. They also played Ghost later on that weekend, meaning they faced the top and bottom back-to-back. It seemed as though the Renegades were prepping for Ghost because they handled Obey seemingly easy.
Now, similar to our Ghost vs. E United set on Friday's Space Station, Blow Sangwon up in Game 1 behind an absurd Amaterasu from Nika and Vote slamming on Jingwei. Insert ban Amaterasu against Nika meme here. Alvin will take care of that. But luckily, Sangwon make the adaptation game number 2. If nothing else, Nika was largely held in check on the Guan Yu thanks to early pressure from Yarkor on King Arthur. But the center of the map became the problem for Sangwon this game, and it's Cheerio and Erlong Shen leading the charge. Yeah, he's pretty good at that pick. The man picks up another quadra kill. How do you like that on Erlong Shen? And it's in that moment that Sangwon lost, despite some early luck.
That's right. The last set of the week was Ghost versus the Renegades, with Ghost coming in red hot. Hey, we said the same thing for Ghost. They must be red hot. And Renegades riding high off their win over Obey. This set was always going to favor Ghost, of course, and after the first game, it seemed to be the case. But the Renegades fought back in Game 2. Eventually, though, Ghost overpowered the Renegades to win this one 2-0. Oh, that's it for a short week in the SPL. All 2-0s, and we will see you later. Blah, blah, whatever Dolson's sign-off is going to be. Week 12, let's get after it.
Always good to get a recap there from the fellas, but those were the fellas. We got the boys in here for the SPL waiting room. It's Finch and Gormizer. Finch, a holder of 2 titles, apparently, in the way that we're doing this. Very, very impressive work by you. Guys, I want to talk to you about the top 2 teams in the SPL right now, because it seems like these are still the top 2 end. It's SSG and it's Ghost, and I'm not just asking you, I also want to ask chat about who they think will be finishing first overall here in Phase 2, because, fellas, it seems kind of like this is going to be our top 2 unless anything drastically changes. Gore, do you see it the same way?
Yeah, I mean, right now I feel like there really is almost just a 2-horse race when it comes down to it. I think you really have to look at what Ghost has been bringing as number 1 to really argue against them, right? Because, like, when you're looking at that, I mean, they're on the longest win streak that they've had, that anyone's had all year in terms of sets. They're the only team that regularly is taking down SSG, plus they're getting a lot of kills. I don't know, everything just seems to line up for them overall. And it feels like these 2 teams are the closest ones and realistically the only ones that are contending right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too. And Agro, before I get too much into how good these two top teams are, I want to make sure that we're congratulating you, my man, Agro, recently getting married, tying the knot. Let's get the pickup from Joe herself. Absolutely, congrats on the first couple of the SPL, I think, coming together here. So appreciate you, Agro, for y'all getting married. I want to say congratulations to you, my man. But yeah, I'm right there with you, Gore. SSG and Ghost, that's who it is. Those are the only two teams I'm concerned about for first place right now until we can see someone else consistently performing at that same level.
Thank you very much, Finch. I just wish we could have gotten you on the correct microphone for that wonderful shout-out. We'll get it all sorted, I'm sure, in the future. But look, these guys, I mean, these top two teams just seem to be so much stronger than everybody else right now.
Yeah.
Ghost in particular, Gore, I think this team just seems like when they are hitting their stride, I mean, you look at the head-to-head between Ghost and SSG, it's been Ghost that's been getting it done there, and I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah, and again, like when it just comes down strictly to numbers, like I'm going to look at it. Their lowest KDA on Ghost is Twig with 2.2, and that's higher than some other team's highest KDA, right? They're consistently performing in that. I put out a tweet earlier this week, but Sam is just the most ridiculous jungler, I think, to be playing in the league right now. He's got over 200 kills this phase. He's got 63 more than anybody else. He's 60 away from getting 500 this year, so he's way ahead of everybody in just that regard. And like I had said earlier, they are consistently winning these sets and winning these games. The last time they lost was in Week 7. It was a kind of weird 2-0 to the Renegades, and so it has shown that if they're going to show up cold, they can show up really cold on a given day, but they've been so consistent otherwise that you really have to look at them as this team that is prepared for everybody. They're not worried about who they're going up against, or even if they are, they know that they're going to be able to come out on top. They do only have just like, I think, 2 more losses than SSG has and 1 more win than SSG has in terms of every single game played, but other than that, I mean, they do feel like they've just kind of taken themselves and separated the gap between even them and SSG.
It's been very impressive from Ghost, and I think that you saying exactly the right thing there, that they could come in red hot or ice cold on any given day. Finch, it feels like SSG, one of their hallmarks, to their claim to #1, is that they don't have those same issues. They seem a little bit more consistent.
They are, and up against the rest of the SPL, SSG, it feels like are ahead of everyone else, only really stumbling when they end up coming into Ghost. So I think the reason why I have SSG as that team that I think most positioned to finish in #1 is 3-pronged, right? First, they're a picks and bans nightmare. What do you do about this team when you have to ban 3 picks away from Dardes, right? The Hera, the Persephone, and the Aphrodite. And then you start thinking about how you want to ban stuff from Nika, right? You want to take away the Amaterasu. There's too much you have to think about when you're pick banning against this team. Then they're mid to late game powerhouses. I was looking at it, this team almost never gets first blood, and it doesn't matter, dude. This team bounce backs against you in the later stages of the game. Plus, all 5 of their players represent an independent win condition. Meanwhile, it feels like Ghost are often reliant on Mike or Sam getting them off to a uniquely good start. It can be anybody over there on the SSG side.
I think that's a good point as well. I mean, that team has an impossible task anytime anyone's picking and banning against them. Where do you take it away? And it seems like Nika has gotten that Amaterasu consistently, and they have won consistently. No surprise about that. Chat thinking, by the way, based on our lower third here, that 3 out of 4 people in chat feeling like Ghost is going to be that #1 seed. I don't know if that says more about Goremiser's fantastic debate skills. He must have like gone to states or something like that in high school. I don't know. I mean, this guy must have been solid on the debate crew. But either way, Ghost is ending up looking up on top. But one thing that has been really, really key, not just among these 2 teams, guys, but all the successful teams in the SPL, is that supports have been diffing their opponents over and over and over again. And I know we like to meme Mifflin, and correctly so, that jungle is the most important role in Smite. It always has been, it always will be. Every game is jungle diff. But the second most important role in my mind is support. And some supports have been popping off a little bit more than others. Finch, I know you got one in mind that plays for Sanguine.
I sure do, man. I think Wrong You does not get enough credit for how consistently he plays. I actually think Sanguine might be in the competition for one of the best frontline duos in the league between Yarkor and Wrong You. These guys are so consistently setting up for them. Here's the thing. Shito's not out there hitting these nasty shots on his own. Okay, that's a lie. Sometimes he is, but most of the time he does not have to, because Wrong You is an absolute animal, willing to play different kinds of support to these teams, able to bounce between an aggressive sort of set-up style support and also willing to play a more back
backline type support. I think that dichotomy is the most important thing in the support role right now. How well can you do the aggressive things like playing the Hercules, which he has borrowed from the likes of Mike and some of these other aggressive supports, and he's managed to marry that with his own play style where he is more comfortable playing the supportive styles too. You need support, get you a man who can do both, and Wrong You is absolutely that for Sanguine.
He's been fantastic all year long. And remember, not that long ago, we were saying Rongu was one of the question marks about this team at the very beginning of the year. Yeah. He has answered that without a doubt in my mind. He's been one of the best supports in the whole league. But Gord hasn't been all flowers and sunshine for every single team. Some team supports we feel like need to step up a little bit.
And, you know, there may be some easier targets than the one I chose here, but I really honed in on Aurora when we were talking about setting this up, and it's not because, you know, his history. Like, you look at his career in Smite, and he's been one of the best supports to touch the game, but you look at the last, let's say, 8 sets that they've played, and it's been really a hit or miss with them. And I'm looking at their numbers right now. He's won a ton with Kuzenbo, but what have we been seeing a lot of? We've seen a lot of Terra, a lot of Kepri that has come through as well. That a lot more support-oriented kind of play instead of the typical aggressive style that we kind of got used to seeing. And you go back to Phase 1, you put Aurora on something like a Hercules, and you know that that's going to be a bad game for anybody on the other side. But you come to Phase 2 here, and things just haven't seemed to quite click with them, and it has been going on. You had mentioned the jungle. I think adapting is a little off as well for this team, but I think that these more, I want to say, just support-oriented kind of passive style supports have slowed this team down a little bit, and I'm wondering if they're going to turn that around, if maybe it was a Sanguine style where Wrong You was able to pick up those aggressive supports. Maybe they're just trying to find it, or maybe they were just off for a few weeks, but that's really where my eyes have been for Radiance right now, and where things need to change for them.
Aurora definitely is feeling the effects of the curse of heavy is the head who holds the crown. We just expect so much from this guy. I think a lot of players playing at Aurora's current level would be getting praise. When you're one of the GOATs, we expect a little bit more at times, and I think that is kind of suffering there for Aurora. But he's not the only one who's had his fair share of struggles, Finch.
No, he's not, and unfortunately I got to call out my man Inbound on this one because I do feel like he's been struggling for this Obey team, and I want to make sure that I highlight his progress first. I think that he was really struggling in Phase 1 and the start of Phase 2, but has cleaned it up a bit lately. But still, I was looking this up, lowest KDA in the league, obviously only competing with the other supports for that. I wouldn't make the argument, but still even amongst them, all the way at the bottom, which I think speaks to his tendency to get picked a little bit too often and not getting anything valuable in trade for it. There are also times where I'm wondering about the God pool. I think he does play things like the Sobek, the Kuzenbo very well. Amir is his top pick, but at other times it feels like his team has to ban things like Yamoja even when they're in first pick and should be able to leverage to get a strong pick like that, and I'm not so sure it's there for him. And then also, I brought up the Amir already, but I don't know if I like one of your best picks being such a volatile pick like this Amir is for him. Sometimes he's getting the sick walls and the sick freezes and doing all this great damage, but more times than not, he has to put himself out of position. It's a little bit too high risk, mid-reward for me with this type of pick. I think Bobby certainly got the potential there, but I think that we've seen, you know, some spikes, but mostly there's been some struggles.
I think it's no coincidence that when we see Obey start to look good and we go, oh, they're turning it around, it's often because Inbound is having very good sets. That team really relies on him, as every team does, on their support. We already talked about one of the top seeds in the entire SPL really relying on their support player, Gore, but luckily for Ghost fans, PBM has been delivering.
Yeah, you load into lobby, you're looking at picks and bans, watching your favorite set, you go in to watch Ghost versus literally anybody, and one or two of the bans, it's going to be Hercules and Yamoja. Guaranteed top 3 every single time because you have to target out on him. And then 100% win rate on a Cerberus, 100% win rate on the Yamoja when they're able to get it. I just think he commands so much of the game and commands so much of the presence here for Ghost that it makes everyone else's job a lot easier. And I think that's exactly what they say about each other all the time on Ghost. Like, every single one of them ends up setting up the others. But when you look at specifically where PBM is able to come in and literally make plays out of what feels like nothing, it changes the pace that you have to play at. I think he's a big portion of the reason that they're able to win these games, 25 minutes or less. A lot of the time, they are typically one of the faster winning teams in the SPL because of that. And I think it's just because his rotations are a little more impactful than what you're going to see out of it. It's also because of the fact that, look at his God pool. He's even going to be able to pull out some of these, again, maybe even more supporty, passive-esque playstyle gods. and still play them as aggressively. Like, he doesn't seem to care when he gets put on something like a Khepri if it means that he can still go in, get an upduct, and make sure that everyone's going to fall apart. I think that his wide god pool and his playstyle just really does escalate him to the top tier of supports.
No surprise that Mike is in that category for sure. It's been a lot of fun talking about supports, fellas, but feeling like it's a little bit of time to let Gormizer take over. It's everyone's favorite segment here on the SPL Waiting Room, Fact Seat Gaming. We got to get like some fanfare, like a little like jingle going whenever it comes time. But yeah, exactly. Gore, what are some facts we get to talk about this week?
All right, well, I've got some questions for you guys, because I think these are pretty fun ones. And it's actually fun because we're going from talking about supports that have maybe the least amount of kills collectively in Smite to actually a couple of players. I want to know, how many current SPL players do you think have pentas in competitive play?
Current
Cyclone has
SPL
one
players.
for sure, right?
Yep. I can
So
think of
these
two right off the
Well, we
bat.
definitely
Hawaii has
saw
one,
one
right?
Within
Yeah.
the last few weeks, right? So, like, there's at
Yep,
least
Cherry
one
had
player.
one.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna say, just to be safe, in case there's one I'm forgetting, I'm willing to say 4 here at this point. That's my guess, Gormizer.
That's pretty good. I'm gonna say only 3. I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I'm gonna undercut him a little bit. I'm gonna go 3.
Well, Finch was actually right. It's 4
Let's
players.
go! I love
So Cheerio.
dude.
Cheerio was the one who most recently got one. Barra has one from way back when. Snoopy as well. And Cyclone Spin actually has
Snoopy.
2 that he was able
Yep.
to get. Cyclone Spin is the only player that was able to get 2 pentakills in competitive play. So
Well, one's in
I
a
guess good
fountain.
on
That
him,
doesn't count, you know.
right? So, so it looks good for them, but only 4. I mean, out of what, 40 players? Maybe I'm doing my math wrong. Maybe it's a little less, but that's still a lot, or not a lot, I think, in terms of the whole field. Either way, we move on to question number 2. Yemoja, right now, she's the most banned god all year. Persephone is the second most banned god. But how many more bans do you think Yemoja has than Persephone?
Oh, a lot would be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a lot too.
But I don't know.
If I knew
Like,
the total number of matches, right?
Right,
That's how many
exactly.
Yemoja has, right?
I don't know. I don't know the context of what number would be like a lot, but I'm gonna say that Yemoja has been banned 37 more times than Persephone.
You know, I was thinking 32, but now you're scaring me. I'm going to drop down a little bit. I'm going to say 26 more times here, Gormizer.
Man, this is going to blow your mind then, because the reason I chose this is because it's 86 more times. All year, Yemoja has been banned 86 more times than Persephone.
I should've
The
just
fact
been
that
high,
it got
we knew.
so close to 100 to me, it just scared me a little bit. And just so you know, like in Phase 2, we've had 151 games, right? Yemoja has a 100% pick ban rate with a 63% win rate throughout all of that. So she's doing
Yep.
pretty good. That's why
I think-
I get a little tilted when I see teams not picking her.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe every team should be able to play Yemoja. I don't know. Just like maybe a thought. It seems like it might be good. Not sure.
Seems pretty good. Either way, so I guess kind of on the opposite end of that, right? Yemoja has so many ridiculous amounts of bans. 9 gods have only been played once this year. Just name one of them. Like, just name someone that was only played once.
Okay, this is pretty
All
easy.
year?
Zeus has only been played once. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
I
much.
wish-
How
How are you gonna take my guy from me? What is that?
I had to get the only one I knew out quick.
Okay, only once all year, right? Phase 1
yeah.
included.
Phase 1 included. A couple of them this phase. I think I'm looking at 4 more that were just this phase.
Vulcan.
Ooh,
Yes,
that's a good
as
one.
well.
There
Let's
we
go.
go.
Alongside
Okay.
them, you had Zhang Kui, Izanami, Zeus, Ares, Chak, Nox, Ao Kuang, Artemis, and Vulcan all going over
Wow.
there. They get played. They didn't
Someone
do
picked
well.
Chak?
I think Chak and Nox were actually on the same team. I think it was Jungle Chak for Obey with Nox solo. I got
Oh,
to talk
yeah.
to Ducky about that like last week, and it was one of those things that I had kind of blanked from my memory. I think everyone wanted to blank from their memory and just kind of leave it back there.
Yes. Yeah, that was
There's
a bit rough.
surprise.
I do remember that game. I'm a little surprised that only one Ares pick. That was the pick that stood out to me that we only saw one of those.
Well, apparently there's a surprise fact. It's even more surprising because it's surprising me as well. But who's been banned most in the SPL? I'm guessing that's God-wise.
Gotta be
gotta
Yemoja,
be
right?
Yemoja.
Yeah, but I said it first, so.
All right, then Persephone. I'll put my hat there. Yeah.
I'm going to say Hercules. Oh.
All time. Oh, oh, okay. Let's just pick the new god there, Aggro. Real smart. All time. That is an interesting question.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me that it was Serket.
Man,
She's been
Athena?
competitively good for a while. Athena is surprising because she has not been
Number
competitively
2.
viable in a while. Maybe it's time to bring her back. Cleve is incoming for that god. I don't know if that's going to do it. But thanks, of course, Goremizer, for running Fact Seat Gaming. Make sure you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more SPL Waiting Room.
All right, everybody, we're getting to the end of 2020, thank God, and that means we are almost at election time. Now more than ever, it's important for everyone to get out, exercise their right to vote, make an impact on your local community and at the countrywide scale. So make sure November 3rd or earlier, if able, you get out and vote.
Go vote.
Go vote.
Canadian, by the way, but understanding that elections are important and obviously you still need to vote. We literally just say the word vote.
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 Go vote.
Yeah, I'm gonna say vote also.
Go vote.
What are you still doing here? Go vote.
Hey guys, make sure you go out and vote.
Hey guys, remember to go vote.
And remember to vote.
Vote.
Go vote or I'll kick your ass.
Hey guys, remember to go vote.
Well, I know at times your vote can seem elusive, but it is indeed your right to vote. Make sure that you're paying attention. Get out there and vote.
What the f does everyone want with me, man? Jesus Christ.
From all of us here at the SPL, make sure that you are, number one, rooting for a vote, apparently, is what we're doing, but also, go out and vote. It's super important. You should absolutely be doing it. Okay, time to move on to Week 12 in the SPL. Oh, Goremizer ahead of schedule. I like it, my guy. Well done. Well
We went
done.
out on Wednesday, baby.
Love to see it. Love to see it, absolutely. Okay, Week 12 is going to be a big one here, fellas. We're getting closer and closer to the end of Phase 2 already, so seeding and everything like that going to be absolutely critical for those Phase 2 playoffs. Of course, we do have a makeup game on Saturday for the Pittsburgh Knights, so they've got a doubleheader on Saturday, but today we're kicking it off with Radiance and Sanguine and SSG versus Obey. Some a pretty tough set to open with, in particular for Sanguine and Radiance, as those two are now very, very close to one another in the standings now that Radiance has started to right the ship a little bit, but still clearly some work to do for them. The big one, though, is PK and Radiance as well. Same sort of situation as Sanguine and Radiance. Those two teams have split their season series so far. Gore, how do you feel like this one's going to go?
Man, this really rides on that conversation you had at the very start of the show, right? Where, I mean, you're coming into this and you have to wonder, you know, PK, they only had a week off, which honestly could feel like a breath of fresh air for them. Come back in, feel reinvigorated. Based on the way they were playing at the last time we saw them, as well as Radiance the last time we saw them, I'm leaning towards PK. They just look like they're on a hot streak. Things have shifted for them. I don't know what they did that made it click, but it just feels like everything here in these last few weeks has just been good for them.
Let's see how the whole casting team is feeling about their predictions. I heard that I got shortchanged last week, by the way, and I do not appreciate that because now my percentages are absolutely screwed, and I don't like that. 62. All right, I would have been 80 plus. We all know it. That's the way it goes. It was only because production and all the other casters conspired against me, but Finch still holding on to that top spot. You gonna stay up there after this week, you think?
You know, I didn't have a taste for it before, but now that I do, I need to be here up at the top. I demand it, so I'm holding on to it, yeah.
Well, statistically, it is in your best interest, chat, to just listen to John Finch and whatever he says, and I think that you're going to be doing okay if you do just that. Thanks so much for watching The Waiting Room. Thank you to Gore and Finch for coming on, and hope you guys enjoy a great Week 12 in the SPL.